Anti-Semitism, racism, hate shouldn't be tolerated, and the events of the past 2 months are unacceptable. End of story. But unfortunately, there are some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who will still refuse to acknowledge that simple fact. Hey everybody, I hope you're all having a great weekend. I'm here with an update on what we worked on in Washington this week. There's a lot to discuss, including government spending, the latest fight for our waterways, combating anti-Semitism. Let's get started with all of it. Now, first up, on Monday of this week, our country hit a milestone, and it's not a good milestone. The national debt is almost $34 trillion, and if you break that down per citizen, it's now more than $100,000 per citizen. That means that my son, who is 4 years old, he hasn't even started kindergarten yet, owes $100,000. My 8-year-old daughter, my 11-year-old son, my 13-year-old son, they all owe. My wife, myself. Unacceptable. Huge driver of our national debt is something known as emergency supplemental appropriations. That's how Congress responds to any sort of unprecedented event, be it a wildfire in Maui, a volcano, a disgusting terrorist attack against Israel, something that might happen with a hurricane or a tornado or a flood, or it could be a host of different things. If additional funding is needed for any reason, a supplemental bill, that is to say a bill not accounted for, is introduced and usually passed. Now, for the last 20 years, Congress has spent an average every year of $105 billion in these supplemental bills. That's $105 billion that we're consistently spending, but we're not planning for. That is to say, when there's a budget process that takes place and they say, okay, the top line is going to be 1.4 trillion or 1.2 trillion or 1 trillion or whatever the number is, and they're breaking that up between 12 individual appropriations bills for funding the whole of government, they're not accounting for the fact that they're going to spend sometimes upward of $105 billion. Some years more than that, some years double that, some years less than that, but they're probably going to spend that and they're not accounting for it. Now, this isn't an unusual concept. Families across the country tuck away a little money every month in order to deal with potential emergency, like a car breaking down or having to need new brakes or a new air conditioning system. Congress should be doing the same thing. Planning for contingencies, not just being reactionary. This week, I went before the House Committee on Budget and urged them to include a line item for this type of emergency spending and to make sure that they're making cuts in other areas to make sure that they cover it. This is an easy step towards fiscal responsibility, and I hope that it's something that will be implemented as we're drafting next year's budget. I want to switch gears to something else. In a hearing with the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee on Water Resources, Lieutenant General Scott Spellman testified. He and I have had a lot of back and forth over the years. Normally, we're kind of at each other's throats. I don't usually appreciate the way that he manages water. Lieutenant General Spellman is the head of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the agency that's responsible for managing discharges from Lake Okeechobee. Now, in the hearing, we got an update from the Lieutenant General on the implementation of the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, as we call it, LOSOM. Now, as you might remember, LOSOM was delayed because of a last-minute concern raised by another agency, the National Marine Fisheries System. We call it NMFS. Now, I want you to take a listen to this.
We do not accept the biological opinion that was given to us. LOSOM does not go away. We're invested. We think it's, as you know, we believe it's a significant improvement from where we've been with LORS.
Now, thankfully, Lieutenant General Spellman agrees that LOSOM is crucial to ending toxic discharges into our coastal estuaries. And I hope that he'll be motivated to get it in place as quickly as possible. As always, I'm going to keep you updated on that every step of the way. Now, finally, on the House floor this week, we considered what I would call a very straightforward bill. It was a resolution, quote, strongly condemning and denouncing the drastic rise of anti-Semitism in the United States of America and around the world. It's pretty simple. Anti-Semitism, racism, hate shouldn't be tolerated, and the events of the past 2 months are unacceptable. End of story. But unfortunately, there are some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who will still refuse to acknowledge that simple fact. 13 Democrats voted no on the bill. 92 of them voted present, meaning they were too scared to take a yes or a no position. That means 105 Democrats were too cowardly to show their support for our ally Israel, too worried about what their Hamas sympathizing constituents might think if they spoke up about the disgusting acts of terrorism that have gone on around the world. That complete lack of intestinal fortitude makes me sick. It's the reason that Jews around the world are living in fear in places, on college campuses. We especially have Jewish friends that are celebrating Hanukkah this week. I want each of you to know that we will stand with you. We will not allow the hatred towards the Jewish people and towards Israel to go unchecked. And we will continue to speak up for you at every opportunity, whether it's on the floor of the House of Representatives, whether it's on those college campuses. It doesn't matter where. We're going to make sure that we stand up against this. I hope that all celebrating have a very happy and peaceful Hanukkah. And in that, I look forward to seeing you all around home. I wish you all the best. You all take care. Hey everyone, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe. I will be back on YouTube with more exclusive content, so stay tuned.